And welcome to the Cornbread Man Morning Show from the Cornbread Nation Studios here in extreme Northwest Georgia, 6:01 Eastern Standard Time. Very end of March, the 30th of March. April showers are just around the corner. April Fool's Day, all the silly jokes, all the silly things people do on April Fool's. Some people really get into that. Some people do not. Anyway, it's just around the corner. People's birthdays are on that day. Somebody had to be born. Somebody has to get, somebody gets married on that day. There are things that happen. I have a cousin whose birthday is on April 1st. We have not seen her in a number of years, but a first cousin who I was born in May and she was born in April. It's supposed to be the opposite. She was early, I was late, a little bit. But anyway, happy Monday to you. Hope you've had a good weekend. We did. Was planning on being on a little bit more yesterday. We just some things got twisted around again with just caring for my wife, and we were really busy with some stuff, so didn't do that. But we'll get those shows in this week. But congratulations to Chase Elliott on the win. The Braves had a pretty good start to their season. In fact, a real good start. Some basketball teams, the Duke Blue Devils blew it. Duke didn't make it. That was my pick to win it all. They certainly had the team. They did not. They were beaten. We'll go through that on sports tonight. Tennessee got trounced. I hope there were some people that went up there to support the Volunteers or went wherever they were playing. I seen them headed out and wearing their Tennessee gear. Bad game, blowout by about 30 or more. No, was not. You don't have to worry about it saying if the ball had just went this way or that way a little bit, we would have won that game. No, there was no. It was not. I'd rather be blown out. I'm honestly. If it's a close game, you're always thinking, what if? You look back through the whole game. Well, if we'd done this better here, we'd have lost. When you're blown out like that, just go home. No, you're not going to make it. It didn't make it. So there's some teams headed on. We'll catch up all the baseball, basketball, a little bit of football news, maybe some college football news. We'll look at all that tonight. We do have a guest tonight. And shout out to all the winners for the dirt track winners and those, however they finished. We've been talking to a few of them this weekend, and some of them we're trying to booger from Chickamauga. We want you to come on. You know who you are. If nobody's told you yet, we want you to come on. We have tried. You won this weekend on one of the races. So from the little metropolis of Chickamauga, we're not that far away. We're only a few minutes away, a few minutes up the road. We want you to come live in studio. Booger, we're putting a shout out for you. Anybody that knows him, tell him to be brave. It's not scary. It'll be all right. Come on. We want to celebrate. We've got a number of, do have an interview tonight and tomorrow night for the Dirt Report interview series, Dirt Report. Part of our SFP Racing Hour and our sports. We have two different sports channels. We have the SFP Sports. We also have the Wolf Nation Sports. SFP will always be tied in with our Racing Hour. We do those back to back. Wolf Nation Sports will be special features and times that we come on. We got to get a music show in as well. And history, got to get that in. We got to do all that and news. We'll catch up on all that. But this morning, before we do any of that, we'll need to have our verse of the day. And let me share the screen here because I definitely want the verse of the day on the screen. Psalms 5:11. Love the image there. But let all those that put their trust in thee rejoice. Amen. Let them ever shout for joy because thou defendest them. Let them also that love thy name be joyful in thee. Amen. You might not always be smiling, but you can always have joy in the Lord. Amen. So you always start your day out. Get up, pray up, and then coffee up. We do have our coffee this morning. Remember, this show is brought to you by our Wolf Nation Coffee. And we love our Wolf Nation Coffee. Here at the studio, we have many different blends in the studio. There you go, the Wolf Nation Coffee. That's just but 4 of them. I need to feature a few more of the names, and we'll do that. Maybe we'll do a promo going through the website a little bit and show you some of that. But the Wolf Nation Coffee, all the 12 ounces, I believe all of them, maybe one of them, but 99% of them Shipping included or less than $20 out of your pocket. Less than. You're going to enjoy it. You can get on a club. If you bigger, or you order more, you can do that. But it's very reasonable. It's in line with anybody else that's out there and cheaper than most. We didn't try to do a high margin or anything. If you get into bulks, there's a little bit more, but for the average consumer, the average bear, we tried to keep it really in line with that. The Wolf Nation coffee and Mammoth Nation, we always want to promote them. Mammoth Nation, use that QR code, and I'm a lifetime member. These folks, they love America. I'm telling you, and all these great companies they have, they're America First companies. They're America made in America. I love America. You can become a monthly subscriber for as little as $5 a month. I took advantage of they offer about once a year, half price on their for their lifetime, and so I'm a lifetime member, which means I don't have to pay anything. I'm already a member, lifetime. I can go in, I look at all the companies, and they give great discounts and stuff. You're going to earn your money back in savings, and you're supporting American companies, and so we appreciate that. If you just want to support the program, there's various ways to do that, and more are coming. We do have a few monthly supporters that are here. We're fixing to have our link tree set up. When all that gets set up, there'll be some programming that only you can get as a subscriber to the Southern Patriots and Wolf Nation podcast, radio, TV, and yes, there will be TV along with that. We're not going, and finally, one more we're going to do, and there are other ways, and we have our own Venmo and PayPal, all that good stuff we have. But if you want to, and then there's a Mammoth Nation again, different ways, different ads that we've done. If you want to go to Patriot Mobile, just go to Patriot Mobile, use the promo code Cornbread, and you'll, if you make the switch, you'll get a free month. It won't cost you anything for that month, just your startup fee, which is not very expensive at all. These are ways you can support us. The link tree is on the way. We also have a store. We'll be really promoting it soon. We're flipping some things around. We're going to drop some affiliates. We'll keep our own thing. If somebody wants it, they can save money, but it's not going to be our intention to have really hard. There's only going to be a handful, very small, maybe 2, 3 at the most, probably 2 anymore. We're moving on and we're moving up and we're doing some different things. And we just offer them if you want them. It's, we use them. I buy from them, and they'll be there. If you want them, they're there. If you don't, then it's fine. But we'll have a way that you can support us in a very profound way and very reasonable monthly, and get all the programming, new shows on the way, expanded features into shows. There'll still be all this free stuff that we're doing. We're not putting everything behind a paywall, but to our benefit, we will put something behind there and ask you to partner with us. And, it costs to buy new equipment and keep things up and pay expenses and stuff like that. So, that except for the content creators programs we're in, that comes out of our pocket. So, or at least out of my pocket. I say it's coming out of my pocket. So it's a way for us to grow the program and get there. And there's going to be a lot of news coming on that. This will be set up within a matter of just a few weeks. We've got to get everything together. We're already starting to do some things with our programming to be ready for that. There's going to be some features that will only be seen behind the paywall, which is a link tree, and it'll be like $5 a month or something. So you can do it if you want to. If you don't have to. You still get all this free programming. That's free to you, except for whatever it costs you to view in from your end. If you're paying for whatever, if you're not, then it's totally free. Maybe the electricity, you say. That's good. But it is a way for you to be a little bit more involved with that and partner with us. And we want to give you some things that go along with that. We want to give you some things that only those will see. It also keeps out of some trolls. We talk about heavier subjects. We don't, if they want to pay $5 a month, we can still cook them out. But they're probably not going to do that. And when we're dealing with heavier subjects, we don't have to deal with a little cavalcade of morons that come along sometimes, not every day, but sometimes, and put their 2 cents in and just try to disrupt the show. We ignore them, but this will clean up a lot of that. And for our guests, and they won't see anything on their screen, and those folks can go away. But the main reason we're doing it is it will just help us do more in our features and stuff. Uncle Jeb's going to have his own show. We'll still have the Jeb and Bubba show. Yes, that'll be coming. We're working on it. But there's other things that are coming. We'll have news about that soon. So there was your verse of the day. Your national day today, it's virtual vacation day. Well, I ain't in for that. If I'm on vacation, I want to go. I mean, it's fun to pull up some, but virtual? What does that mean? Everybody else get to go and you come in by video? Virtual vacation day. Well, it's also turkey neck soup day. I don't. There's a lot of soups. I've never had something specifically called turkey neck soup day. I think I'll just, I don't know about something called neck. Doesn't sound good to me. But anyway, to each his own. National Pencil Day. Do you use pencils? The number two. Remember that in school? Your number two pencils you're required to have. They had a really big one you had to have when you were, learning to write. Then you got the old number two. They come in handy. I make a lot of mistakes in my writing. So before I write something, sometimes I just take notes. I can rearrange my notes. I'm all into digital. I do a lot of things digital. That's the world we live in. I do a lot of things with show notes and all that. Not always, but I've done a lot of that pencil. I like pencil. I'm not much on the lead, the lead pencils. No, I mean, I'll use them, but honestly, they break. I'm ready. Just give me a number two. Just give me a number two and a little sharpener, I've got one on my desk at work, a little electric sharpener. You stick that in, and I like to use pencils. I do. I like a good pen, but I like pencils. It's also National Doctor's Day. I hope you don't have to see one today. And if you do, I hope it's a good day if you go see the doctor. Here's a good one. National Take a Walk in the Park Day. I like that. Take old Fido out, or whatever your dog's name is. Howie in the case of Paul. But take the dog for a walk in a park. That's nice. And also, I like this one. National I Am in Control Day. Well, really, God's in control, but that's a nice thought. I am in control. There are some things you can control in your life. You can't control everything that goes on. It's impossible. But you can control your actions. That's the one thing we control. We can control our mouths. We can control our actions. Outside of that, maybe not a whole lot we can control. Our part in this great thing called life. We may not be able to, as I said, control other people or anything like that, but we can. Maybe that's our kid, but even that has its challenges. We can't control how we act and how we speak. Think before we speak. Very, very important. So anyway, that's a pretty good. That's a bunch of them, man. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7 of them today. Well, they got to fit them all in, I guess. So, but some days only have like 2 or 3. So weird they chose those days, but that's what they did. So heck with them. Let's see here. In 1842, the first use of ether used as an anesthetic by Dr. Crawford Long in the great state of Georgia. Didn't know that happened in Georgia the first time. I may have read that before, but I forgot it. 1842, Dr. Crawford Long. You'll see some things named after him in Georgia. And probably because the pencil day, the 1858 pencil with attached eraser is patented by Hyman Lipman of Philadelphia. Very nice. In 1867, on this date, the United States buys Alaska from Russia. They've regretted it ever since. For $7.2 million. That's worth $109 million today in today's dollars. It's worth a heck of a lot more than that. Russia. They've been mad at us ever since. And we got that. That's roughly 2 cents an acre we got. What a deal. Maybe that's the best deal ever negotiated in the history of land deals. Maybe in any deal. 2 cents an acre. Wow. And guess what, Ruska? We're not giving it back up. No way. 1870, the 15th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution is adopted, guaranteeing the right to vote regardless of race. 1870. And in 1939, Batman debuted in the 27th issue of Detective Comics by, DC Comics. In 1953, Albert Einstein announces revised unified field theory. Well, those guys, there's always announcing something. But on this date, he announced that one. In 1961, NASA civilian pilot Joseph Walker takes the X-15 to 169,600 feet, becoming the first person to surpass the stratopause, entering the manosphere. In 1966, Color Me Barbara Streisand, second TV special, and the first in color premiered on CBS. And in 1972, a revival of Stephen Sondheim's musical comedy A Funny Thing Happened on the Way to the Forum, starring Phil Silvers, opens at Lute Fontana Theater in New York City. It runs for 156 performances and wins 2 Tony Awards. Chariots of Fire, remember that one? Boy, that one got a lot of buzz in the award ceremonies. Chariots of Fire, 1981. It premiered at the Royal Command Film Performance Best Picture in 1982. Ben Kingsley, right? Yeah. What else? 1984, World's Most Valuable Tip. New York Police Detective Robert Cunningham offers waitress Phyllis Spenzo half of a $1 lottery. The next day, they win $6 million. Hey, there you go. In 1987, Vincent van Gogh's Sunflower sells for a record $39.7 million. Let's see here. Michael Phelps in 2001, 15 years, 9 months, breaks the 200-meter butterfly world record at the U.S. Championship trials in Austin, Texas. He became the youngest male to set a world mark, and boy, did he has a huge trophy case. He has a lot of medals for him. And in 2019, Swedish gamer and YouTuber PewDiePie, where do they get these names? Overtaken by Indian channel's T-Series, his YouTube channel with most subscribers. Both were at 92 million subscribers. Now that's rocking it. There's your fun facts on this day in history. Wow. Interesting. I like it. Well, the news was not real heavy over the weekend, but a lot of soldiers are en route to around, or not in yet, but around Iran. And it looks as though there's going to be some ground operations, special forces mainly, maybe a little other, but they want to get the Iranian uranium and also help facilitate regime change. Well, those people are rising up over there, but it's it's not well organized. It fits in spurts, and people have been killed. They're trying. We've seen videos of them rising up against the evil forces, the evil empire. But a lot of people have been killed and tortured, but the people are rising up. So there's a possibility there may be weapons and other things involved with them. The Karg Island, they've not decided whether they're going to take that, according to the latest news. But they're planning on a several weeks to months operation, so we're not leaving anytime soon. Forget the 4 to 6 week plan. We're already over the 4 week, or 5 weeks, or whatever we are, or into, or right into. We're going to blow past that. We've passed the point of no return. We can't pull back now, or we do a disservice. The strait has to be open. The Iranians are getting less and less the ability to influence the strait. They've got to do that. Pardon me, scratchy throat this morning. We'll burn it out with some coffee. But 50,000 troops are now stationed in the Middle East. That's quite a bit. And there's a concern about sleeper cells in the U.S., obviously. There's a lot of things that can happen. But I would say that, they have less and less the ability to even reach out to those communications. Not that they couldn't get some, but their telecommunications, everything's got to be in shambles there. They're starting to hit some of the energy sector now. And so there's, the president says there may be a deal reached soon, but that doesn't mean everybody's loading up and saying, load up the ships, we're all pulling back. That's not what that means, because they're going to want to see evidences of some things. And so I would expect that any point plan, it's supposed to be a 15-point plan for the Iranians, for them to slow down the bombing and all that, and maybe stop that. But they'll want guarantees. They want to know where the uranium's at. They're going to know the missile capability, drone capability. There want to be inspections. And that's going to be a part of that, or it's not going to end. And these people will say anything right now, the ones that were the evil empire, the evil part of the empire, will say anything to get us to back off. And I don't, that's not going to happen. So what began as a multi-thousand point air campaign is going to progress into some sort of a ground force, and there'll be some loss of life. It's sadly will happen. If you're going to spill American blood, you better make sure it's worth it. So you can't walk away now. If that's going to happen, you can't walk away without making sure you don't have to come back, hopefully forever. But you have to give the opportunity for I would think if you're gonna spill American blood, we're invested now, and it's already been spilled. But if you're going to spill it in a greater way by ground forces of any kind, special, I don't care for special forces, whatever they are, if they're being killed, and undoubtedly we're going to see some of that. We need to make sure that there's a future where these folks can get along with their neighbors, and all these people that say, listen, they pass rules that never use nuclear weapons. These people lie. They'll say anything they want and need to say. They will not hesitate to lie. Come on. I mean, it's, everybody wants to just believe everything they say, but yet they were doing things all around the region, and and look at all the nations that they hit. So they've been a state sponsor for a long time. So people believe what they want to. That's the freedom we have, but I'm not buying that. I've seen those same things where they say, I don't believe them. As they have vowed for the destruction of certain people. We know that. So the Israelis are expanding operations in Lebanon. We're going to see that. So anyway, this is ongoing. It's going to be ongoing. Little man over in Ukraine's not too happy because there may be some of his weapons diverted. As it has put a tax on it. Nobody likes to talk about it, but the missile capability has been taxed to a degree. Coming back this way. Good morning to you on Instagram. Sugar Nice. Long time no see. Hope you're doing well. Simona. Guan. Appreciate y'all coming in this morning to the Cornbread Man Morning Show. Hope you have a great weekend. Maybe it's even a long weekend. Some people might be on a vacation day today from work, maybe for the week. It is spring break this week. Kids are out of school in our area. My granddaughter is staying with her mom a few days. So they get that little break before the big push to the end of the school year, which is typically around the end of May. So they'll come back. They have about a month and a half, and then they'll clock out for not as long as we did when we were kids, but the summer and vacations and all that stuff. So then everybody hits the vacation trail July. That's bad when you have to do it at that time. I always try to take mine at other times because so many people go on vacation. Everywhere's packed, traffic and everything else. So there's a lot of talk. Nobody knows. The president has he has changed his opinion. I know he's listening to people. He's getting, you will hope he's getting good intel, but he definitely has adjusted what the operation is here a little bit, and he's feeling, the pressure a little bit. He's a guy that can handle that, but he's navigating some politics at home and, the world. And I think seemingly everybody's on board around the world, except for those that are supporting Iran, that this operation should continue. And, so he's also pushing Saudi Arabia to join the Abraham Accord. Says it's time. So see if that will happen. I would also box in Iran a little bit, I would think. The mullahs, not the people. There's a lot of people that don't like Israel. There's a lot of people that appreciate what they're doing. They say, hey, let's get rid of these people. So Israelis are still under threat of missiles and drones. There was some American planes hit, some American injuries as these are hit. Netanyahu's ordered expansion of Lebanon to work, box on Hezbollah. So we're seeing that as well. And I thought this was an interesting article. Vice President J.D. Vance on UFOs. He says, I'm obsessed with unidentified flying objects and plans to review the government's most highly classified files on them before leaving office, while describing the phenomena as demonic rather than extraterrestrial. Vance commented during an interview on conservative commentator Benny Johnson's podcast on Friday. He asked whether the Trump administration would release all UFO files and whether Vance had reviewed any. Vance replied that he had not had any time but intended to make it a priority. Trust me, anyone who's curious about this, I'm more curious than anybody. And I've got 3 years of the very tippy top of classification. I'm going to get to the bottom of it. So he's at the very tippy top, but he's going to get to the bottom of it. It's funny. He added that he had not been able to spend enough time on the issue, but determined to do so. Trust me, I'm obsessed with this. He told Johnson he had once planned to visit Area 51, the classified military facility in Nevada, long tied to alien conspiracy theories, and to New Mexico, but the timing never worked out. He then offered his personal view of the unexplained sightings. I don't think they're aliens. I think they're demons anyway, but that's a longer discussion. He tied the idea to his Christian faith, noting that major world religions, including Christianity, have long described difficult to explain supernatural phenomena as involving both good and evil forces. President Donald Trump recently urged agencies to release more UAP material, while the federal government's own scientific and national security reviews continue to find no verified evidence of extraterrestrial technology or contact. You won't convince a lot of people of that. The All-Domain Anomaly Resolution Office's 2024 historical review found no empirical evidence that the U.S. government or private companies had reverse engineered extraterrestrial technology. In the Department of War's 2024 reporting cycle, AARO, as it is known, Director John Kozlowski said the office had found no verifiable evidence of extraterrestrial beings, activity, or technology. And of course, as soon as they say that, nobody's going to believe that. They're going to say, well, they're just saying that. Officials said hundreds of cases had been resolved as balloons, birds, drones, satellites, and aircraft. I have often surmised that many of these sightings were military in nature and testings of different things. They're not going to tell you everything they're testing or what they're doing. I'm not going to say what I don't know. I've never seen one, never met one. I didn't see those in the backyard in Vegas. I haven't seen them. But I suspect there's a lot of that, going on. President Barack Obama, February podcast appearance, when she said aliens were real during a rapid fire exchange, then clarified the next day that he saw no evidence during his presidency that extraterrestrials had made contact with Earth. I wonder if that's before or after his beer summits that he thought they were real. The White House registered the domain names alien.gov and aliens.gov earlier this month, prompting speculation about possible disclosures. Records show that alien.gov and aliens.gov were created on March 17th and list the registrant organization as Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency. Defense Scoop reported that the registrations fueled speculations about possible UAP-related disclosures. Can you imagine? The president he could have fun with this. I mean, those that hate him would view in to see this. The president said, I'm going to come on and address the nation, and we're going to discuss the major findings of Area 51, of things that we've looked at, the disclosures. We're going to show pictures, whatever evidences we have found, and we're going to give you a summation of what we believe about all of this in the history of our country, and we'll clarify as much as we can. Can you imagine the ratings that show would have? The president, full regalia. Vance just jumping off the seat on the corner. Yeah, I'm obsessed with this, Mr. President. What have you found? Of all the things we have going on, honestly. They're human. Some people are obsessed with sports. Some people are obsessed with reading, or who knows, whatever. It's interesting to know that he's obsessed, Vice President J.D. Vance, with aliens, UFOs, unidentified objects flying through the air. He's obsessed with it. Well, we need to, if they're balloons or whatever, we need to take care of them. Why are they there? Who's flying them? Let's start seeing a few more of them shot down. We need to find out. We need clarification. Somebody's got to fly up and read on the tag. Does it say made in China? Vietnam? Where is it coming from? Let's investigate. Is it weather? Is it what? Spy camera? What is it? Instead of letting it float all the way across the nation as they did before, take care of it before it ever gets to the United States. Let's find out what it is. Did Johnny just release his balloons and they're still flying around, or is this something that the Chinese are doing? I just found that interesting. I'm so sorry. This cooler weather messes with my throat, I think, and it has been a little cool in the mornings. So I just found out. I found that interesting. In the midst of all the other news, you must throw that in. John Bolton, him and the president don't care for each other, but John Bolton was always for regime change in Iran. And he said this weekend in Newsmax that the president needs persistence on Iran. They find common ground here. Former National Security Advisor John Bolton said on Saturday that he supports President Donald Trump's objective of regime change in Iran. Now, they've bitterly went at it, But they do find common ground here. He called for patience and persistence to achieve it, while noting that non-military aspects of the operation are lagging behind the military campaign. The military, he says they're ahead of schedule. They've done a great job. Of course, he served in that role during Trump's first term. He appeared on the Saturday agenda and said he had long favored regime change and urged Trump to pursue it in the past. His early impression, he added, was that the current military operations were intended to advance that goal. I think it's a worthwhile objective, Mr. Bolton said. I think the military side of it seems to be going very well. Other parts of it are not. I think he needs to have patience and persistence if he wants regime change, because this is a moment to get it. The regime has never been more unpopular inside Iran than since it took power in 1979. He referenced a January social media post in which Trump urged Iranian demonstrators to keep protesting, take over their institutions, and that help was on the way. He cited the message to support his view that the current military operation was intended for regime change from the start, which many believe they denied that and said it wasn't part of the mission operation. But they've also hedged on that at times and saying they're not going to talk about certain aspects. On the immediate steps that Mr. Bolton says he believes that the administration needs to take, their priority should be, of course, to reopen the Strait of Hormuz for safe passage, while preventing Iranian oil from moving through it. He expressed surprise the U.S. forces had not focused on the strait earlier, but said the military now appeared increasingly confident to secure the waterway for tankers. I would agree with him on that. I was surprised. Everybody knows they threatened the strait. Why was that not a part of the overall operation plan? And I know they were still trying to knock out missiles, but they weren't even escorting ships. Seemingly they did lag behind on that plan a little bit, to me. I'm not saying I'm an expert, but he said it too. My impression is now as our military is increasingly confident that they can make it safe for tankers to go through. And in the meantime, I would make sure Iranian tankers or tankers carrying Iranian oil are not exiting the strait. It's not a gift to the United States for our enemy to be selling oil and having the purchase price of that oil going in the coffers of the Ayatollahs in Tehran to use against us. Mr. Bolton said he did not think striking Karg Island was necessary, though other reasons for such a move might exist. Quote, I don't think we need to hit Karg Island, Mr. Bolton says. There may be other reasons for that. I think we blockade the strait, make sure no Iranian oil goes in or out. In the longer term, Bolton placed greater emphasis on assisting Iran's internal opposition, which he described as widespread but not well organized. He called for the supply of resources, money, telecommunications equipment, and weapons if the opposition wanted them. If we're not going to put boots on the ground in any substantial number, it's going to be up to the people of Iran working with defectors from the regime, hopefully from the regular army, to pull the regime apart. Interesting words over the weekend from Mr. Bolton. And again, this is not a man that cares for the president at all. And they've had many harsh things to say about each other. But on this point, he said he was always for that. Now, some people never liked Bolton, but he does support that. And so now they see an opportunity that may never present itself again, that they can cause that regime change. So he says he believes it was always a part of the operation. Another interesting story that was sort of coming up on the weekend, there's a tanker of Russian oil headed to Cuba, and we have been blocking a lot of that stuff. On Sunday night, the president said he had no problem with a Russian oil tanker off the coast of Cuba delivering relief to the island, which has been brought to its knees by U.S. oil blockade. We have a tanker out there. We don't mind having somebody get a boatload because they have to survive. Trump told reporters as he flew back to Washington. When asked if a New York Times article or report that the tanker would be allowed to reach Cuba were true, Trump said, I told them if a country wants to send some oil into Cuba right now, I have no problem whether it's Russia or not. Tracking data shows the oil tanker carrying approximately 730,000 barrels of oil was just off the eastern tip of the island on Sunday night and slated to arrive in the city of Matanzas by Tuesday. Journalists working for Cuban state media also reported the boat's expected arrival, though Cuban officials did not immediately respond to requests for comment. The vessel, Anatoly Kolokin, is sanctioned by the United States, the European Union, and the United Kingdom following the war in Ukraine. Trump, whose government has come at its Caribbean adversary more aggressively than any U.S. government in recent history, has effectively cut Cuba off from key oil shipments in an effort to force regime change there. The blockade has had devastating effects on the civilians. Trump and Secretary of State Marco Rubio say they want to help, leaving many desperate. Island-wide blackouts have roiled Cubans already grappling with a year of crisis and lack of gasoline and basic resources, a crippled hospital and slashed public transport. It's already so tough there anyway to get supplies because of the communist nature of that nation. My gosh, they're out there forming parts and have been for decades to keep the cars running. Experts say the anticipated shipment could produce about 180,000 barrels of diesel, enough to feed Cuba's daily demand for 9 or 10 days. So we will see where that goes. Will it force regime change? I don't know. Can you imagine a Cuban that is open to trade, investment, safety and security for those who want to, having tourism there, hotels that would be built, updates, new cars being sold, the influx of people wanting to come visit family, vacation spots, fishing, the list goes on and on. It would be very, very beneficial to Cuba. And it's such a close neighbor. It would become a destination point. Can you imagine the gambling if it were allowed? Can you imagine it would be Vegas South? I mean, not in the middle of a desert. It would be in the middle of warm destination. Within a few years, Cuba could be an amazing destination point. But will that ever happen? Who knows? And it would be interesting, if Venezuela continues to make progress, if Cuba does, if Iran did, what a change in the world, in those points of location anyway. And especially for Cuba, which is so close, 90 miles off the tip of Florida. They always say the making it a part of all of those people, going out on the cruises and stuff. Excuse me. Can you imagine that being a part of that? The daily flights in and out. The cigars now coming directly to the United States. I just envision all that, man. That's what it was. At one time, it was like a Vegas, and before the Fidel and his group took over. But it is. I mean, all these people and all these decades that they've lived, where they basic needs are it's a daily fight, and how much healthcare. I mean, their leaders go elsewhere for healthcare. Their healthcare sucks. I mean, they go. I mean, that's what Venezuela was. It was a place where they could, try to get better healthcare. And there's other locations. I mean, it's horrible. I mean, we'd think they would. I mean, you think they would look at them in the mirror and go, you know what, this ain't working. We can have a version of communism that keeps us, living the good life, but our island needs help. Good grief. I mean, is it such is it going to trample on your power structure to have some new cars? Some new new equipment. I mean, these people are driving 1950s model cars that they just make up parts for to replace. They have no replacement parts. It's amazing, and it's all the architecture, the history of the island. It would immediately, and the investors that would come in, there would be billions upon billions of dollars that would be invested in that nation if they would only, if there were a regime change, if it was only more open to guests and to not be such a. I mean, it's a rough nation. I mean, they say those Cuban jails are rougher than many, and you get sideways of them down there, and you're in a hole. I mean, it's bad. But just giving these people, some a little cut of the pie. I mean, come on, and upgrade things from they're stuck in a time warp. Be a great place to film movies, TV shows as well. I mean, you don't have to build a set. You've got all this architecture from that time frame, and even before it's been sitting there. Be a wonderful place to film some movies and stuff. I mean, this could be $1 trillion deal within just a short period of time of the investment and the money generated and stuff if that happens. So, and yes, those people are obviously thinking about that. There are people lined up. There's businessmen around the president. He himself may be thinking of building the newest Trump Tower in downtown Havana. This business too, baby. That goes on. These guys just ain't thinking about regime change for the sake of regime change. There's always going to be the hand washing the hands. Sure. I mean, that's just part of it. We don't discount any of that. They're businessmen. But they also see, I mean, how it would benefit them, but, the greater world and the drain it is on our nation to have these oppositions. And the president is really, and don't forget, the celebrations this summer, there's why there's an urgency. The president is trying to bring home a lot of goodwill, a lot of things for the birthday celebration of America. He wants this to be able to stand there and say, we have regime change in Iran, regime change in Venezuela, and if he could buttress up and get Cuba in that and have the trifecta, what a birthday celebration that would be. Can you imagine having people representing all those nations that have been outcast that are now back in the country and making things better, standing on the dais with him in a birthday celebration as a military review is going by? Oh, it would be, what a moment that would be. He thinks that way, the pride of America and America helping people out here, and settling things. And other people look at it and say he's just a dictator. And, there's all this ugly stuff that's being said. No King's Day. We just people all over the country saying those things. But for he himself, this would be a moment. And you can say whatever, I mean, everybody's free to say whatever they want about how he got there, but he's thinking that way. He's thinking of bringing the pride back and the greatness of the American military, the greatness of the richness of America, and the respect, and people not mess with us, and he can say, look, and we've made changes in the world. These are bad leaders, dictators, evil regimes, and we've made changes there. He's thinking that way, and every day he's thinking about how, and he outworks anybody, even at his age. He outworks anybody. This guy's always 5 steps ahead of everybody else. But sometimes, he does make missteps because he's trying to get somewhere a little shorter distance than is necessary. So he backs up, and he's always got options. And that's what he wants. He wants the people around him to make options. He'll make decisions, but he wants them to create a lot of options. That's what presidents do. They should surround themselves with the experts militarily, economically, all that. But he's very, very keen, and he knows the deal. I think one of the greatest things I read over this past week was the president knows things people don't think that he knows. They just look at him as a buffoon. He don't know anything. He is very read up. He reads constantly. He reads up on information. He probably knows everybody that's been over Cuba in the last, however long they've been there. All those, he knows the situation. He knows names, dates. Pretty amazing that way. He has a steel trap mind that way. And even at his advanced age, which it's getting up there, he is still out working and out doing. And we went from a president who was constantly on the beach and eating ice cream and at Camp David to a guy who's working. He may not like what he's doing, but he's working. And he is working, and he is in lightning speed because they got one shot to get this done. And yes, he does want to leave a legacy that he left behind. He wants to leave that. And people are mad about that because he's just trying to, it's his own ego and whatever. And there is always that goes with it. But he loves the country and loves the flag but it's a dicey game. It is. it could fall apart in lots of ways and not be, this thing could turn ugly, and that's the danger. Iran is the one, that can really, because these people, the mullahs, fanatical, and that's why we've got to really work that, and we need to get in and out and get the stuff done that we're going to get done and get moved back, to a safer distance, whatever you want to say. But he definitely is pushing that, and he wants that. So, he does he want the? I don't know that he wants the MacArthur scene where he steps off, the boat and they filmed all that, but he definitely would love to be sitting in one of these nations, shaking hands as after they've made changes. I could see that he would want to do that. The American flag and the Iranian flag or the Cuba. I mean, he would see that in his mind. That's what he wants. Amazing. Now, mentioning the supply gaps, there is mention of that as well. There's a supply chain issue. They have talked about limiting some of the weapons that were intended for Iran to prop up operations there. They're going through a lot of munitions. There's been well over 10,000 targets, and they have a few thousand more that they want to hit, new targets or targets that they've hit and they want to hit again. So they've talked to the American producers of those to amp it up. If you're looking for a job, you live in an area where they do that, they're probably hiring because they're putting on more shifts, more equipment, getting there and just keeping everything running at a fast pace because they're going through, they don't like to talk about it, but they're running through the supplies really fast. Because I'm sure in the previous administrations, they let supplies go down to a level they never intended to use them. So, that's isn't an issue. And so it may cost Ukraine some of the weapons that they want, at least for a bit. It won't cost them. But we've been selling them to NATO, and NATO has been giving them or loaning them loans or selling them to Ukraine. And there is a story that the president is, even Zelensky come out. He doesn't, the president, the administration denied it. Marco Rubio specifically denied it, but he says that they're pressuring us to accept the deal and give up the Donbass. That's been out there for a bit, but even Zelensky come out and said, yes, it's a fact that the administration wants us to just give up the Donbass. We're not going to do that, blah, blah, blah. He sees this as the only way to end this, the massacre that's going on the front lines and start dealing forward, because as much as Ukraine has dealt blows and they're still continuing to hit Russian oil supplies and refineries and stuff behind the front line, way behind it, even in Russia proper. They're still continuing to do that. They're still losing ground ever so slowly, sometimes more, but sometimes less. They still lose ground. They've never been able to offensively push back the Russians in any great deal, maybe in one little area, but they just, morph around and get back. So they're continuing to lose ground. So, listen, they've kept this thing going for a long time. But unless somebody militarily bounces Russia back, they're not leaving. They're not leaving that ground. They are spending billions of dollars to build up the areas that they've taken. This was an article that came out over the weekend as well, that the Russians are spending billions of dollars. They're building highways. They're building, they're building the cities back up that they destroyed. That was their plan, to just level them and then build them up. And they're creating, places for the people to live. They're, of course, taking over the energy. The resources are flowing in from those areas are already flowing into Russia. They are building pipelines. They're really pouring it on, and they're not going to give that up. And unless, again, this is where Zelensky's at. He can like it or not like it. We can all like it or not like it. He is not getting that area back. He doesn't have the muscle to do it. You can sell him weapons from now till Jesus Christ steps back on this earth. I don't believe he has the ability to push Russia back whatsoever. They just don't have the hand, and NATO's not going to do it. Europe, these other countries are not going to be able to do it. He says if they give them the Donbass, that they would just continue operations against Ukraine. That would have to have security guarantees. What came out in this plan is that he says that the Americans said that they will give a security guarantee that Russia will not make any moves past that if they will make this deal. The pressure is on. The story's not been in the news as much because of the ongoing operations in Iran and some other things that are going on out there with elections and things. But it is no doubt that there's going to be a major push to put on. So again, by this summer, celebrations, there's going to be a major push to end Ukraine, Russia. There's already been that. They're continuing to pressure that. Iran, where Venezuela's at, making that as best it can be. And yes, Cuba, all this, and who knows, maybe even Greenland for a little icing on the top. That's all that's being pushed. And the president, I'm sure, wants that wrapped up well before July the 4th. I would say that. So here we got April, May, sometime in June. We'll see how it goes, but I would say sometime in June they would want to see they could sort of count on that as something, and they could a feather in their cap that they could say they have. We'll see how much he gets of it. Be worth tracking just to see where it's at before the July 4th celebrations come up. And other dates, whatever dates they want to celebrate, but it's certainly one of them. So we will see. There is a story that didn't get a lot of play. I looked around and I didn't see it. I want to kind of end with this. A lot of people get mad at Israel. Fair enough. Sometimes they do. Some things we don't like. I mean, they are an ally of the United States. People don't like that, but it's fact. We work together. It's always been that way. Some closer, some administration-wise, some further away. Mike Huckabee, in his role as ambassador to Israel from the United States, had this to say that over this holy time we're in, and obviously there's a lot of religious folks that go to Israel and even into the territories, and they're visiting sites and things like that for Holy Week. There was a blocking of the Latin Patriarch by the Israelis, and he said it was an unfortunate overreach. He said the Israeli National Police blocked priests from entering a church on Palm Sunday was an unfortunate overreach. Israeli police prevented the Latin Patriarch of Jerusalem from marking Palm Sunday at the Church of the Holy Sepulchre for the first time in centuries. The Patriarch, Archate, how do you say that? Patriarchate, said with police citing security concerns linked to the war in Iran. It does seem weak. It does not going to stop religious folks from doing religious things and the visitation of these. I understand there's the war and they are limiting large gatherings in Israel. That's true. But the leaders of the something that's happened this much, you would think they would have made that available. Cardinal Pizzaballa and Friar Francesco Aleppo were stopped by police while walking to the church, which is built on the site where Christians believe Jesus was crucified and rose from the dead. The Latin Patriarchate of Jerusalem said, as a result, quote, as a result, for the first time in centuries, the heads of the church were prevented from celebrating the Palm Sunday Mass at the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, it said in a statement. Israeli police said all holy sites in Jerusalem, Old City, remember that's always going to be a touch point, these holy sites, including those sacred to Christians, Muslims, and Jews, have been closed to worshipers since the start of the U.S.-Israeli war in Iran, particularly those without bomb shelters. Police said they had rejected a request from the Patriarchate for a Palm Sunday exemption. If I'm saying that word wrong, y'all would correct me. The Old City and the holy sites constitute a complex area that does not allow access for large emergency and rescue vehicles, which significantly challenges response capabilities and poses a real risk of human life in the event of a mass casualty incident. I think you just very simply say, listen, if there's something happens, you realize the risk you're taking. They would have said, absolutely, we go. And, you just let them deal with that. You don't let, a large gathering occur, but you let them go. Huckabee said on social media that the decision by the Israeli National Police was already having major repercussions around the world. Home front command guidelines restrict any gatherings of 50 people or less, Huckabee said. The 4 representatives of the Catholic Church were well below that restriction. Statements from the government of Israel indicate the action to prohibit the cardinal entry of the Church of the Holy Sepulchre were for safety reasons, but churches, synagogues, and mosques throughout Jerusalem have met with restrictions of 50 or less. The ambassador said that while the Israeli National Police did was difficult to understand or justify, quote, Israel has indicated it will work with the patriarch to accommodate a safe means of carrying out Holy Week activities. So it can be said. Italy's Foreign Minister Antonio Tajani said on social media that he would summon Israel's ambassador over the incident. And then there are other people that chimed in. I would agree with the ambassador on this. I'll show that I will say when Israel overreaches, I will be critical of that. And that was very lame there. And you know what? There are considerations that are beyond an ongoing operation. And it just so happens that this falls during this most sacred time. And I think these 4 men could have been allowed in. And you just explain to them the dangers. We haven't seen a particular religious institution be hit by Iran or any other group yet. I think that was a pretty safe move to allow happen and just say, look, we're on the perimeter. You go in, you're at your own risk, and they would have went. They would have always went. I think that was very lame, and Israel was wrong to do that, and they need to make amends for that. Something that happened for centuries. Not good. Bad look on Israel, and I'll say it. They need to do better. All right, that's the show this morning. We'll see you back tonight. We have an interview with another dirt for our dirt report, and we talk about dirt show. We got some winners over the weekend. Scott Smith was still behind those Hughes boys, but he did come in fourth. He's working hard. It's a great looking car. Been talking to Terry Calhoun this weekend, but we do have a guest tonight. Let me mention that guest by name. I want to make sure I get it right. I want to make sure I've got it in my head. I know what it is, but I want to make sure I say it right. Brady Beavers, Dirt Report. We'll contact him today to make sure. And tomorrow night, Dylan Swinehart's supposed to be on. So we have a couple of interviews, and we also have Claude Haggerty scheduled. So we have a couple of interviews maybe tomorrow night. So it's a big week for interviews. And on Friday, Miles Pike will be with us on for the Dirt Report. So we got a lot going on with that. And we'll talk about the race from Sunday. Congratulations again to Chase Elliott. We'll talk baseball, football, all that good stuff, a breakdown of all those things. And we'll have a good time with the Chaser, Marine, and whoever else can come in. Pray for Daryl. I know he's been under the weather. Pray for him. Pray for my wife. Biscuit Boy may pop in. Don't know for sure. He may not. And Dusty and Desi. Who knows? We'll see. We'll see who pops in. Have a great day. Go to work. Make it happen. And we'll see you tonight or this evening, late afternoon, whatever you want to say. And let's get the music rolling. Here we go. Let's go. Let's do it tonight.